Hello and welcome, everyone. Or I guess ASF fans. I don't think everyone's going to be watching this, but certainly ASF fans will be very tuned into this one. I got a feeling, don't you? But he's nodding. But welcome to the behind the scenes. Uh, I keep calling it, feeling like I should call it a vlog, but there's no video. Well, there is a video, but it's not of us. It's of the event that we're going to be doing a behind the scenes look at. But it's more like a podcast. That's how we've done all of these before. You don't actually even have to look at the screen. You can carry on doing what you're doing. We'll carry on with what we're doing here. Um, but yes, behind the scenes of Bash of the Brands and the final roar. But mostly we'll be also talking about other stuff too. But we'll see where we go. I do have a bunch of topics lined up. It is me. I don't know what to address myself as. I'll just say I'm Aki Forrest or Mr. AKI, one of the two. But Mr. AKI is my character name, although this guy over here would like to use his character name, and it's Dr. Eggman. He's with me. Hello. So, I'm here for moral support. All right, okay. Okay, I didn't agree with that one, but whatever. You threw me off of my train of thought, you ass. Glad to be of help. Uh, where were we? Right, yes, I have topics. We're gonna go through them all. I'm. We were aiming to make this about 3 hours. It may be less. It definitely isn't going to be more. He wants to go home already. But yeah, we've started this at the best time for a 3 hour session of recording or looking at talking about stuff from behind the scenes, and obviously we have a lot more news to spill, seeing as this is the end of the season one. Even though originally just was going to be just a one and done thing, and then we were going to ride off into the sunset, and that was it. But we are now doing a season two because we didn't envision this at all, but we will probably talk about that and explain that as we go. But I've already put on the Discord server, which you are welcome to join, by the way. I will leave a link for that in the video description down below. Because I do post stuff there. I just don't advertise it for ASF necessarily. I think I've only just recently, but I haven't mentioned it. It's kind of hard to get into the when we do commentary to even like bring it up or anything. But obviously, I will try to do that in the future. But yes, we have a Discord server. It's been mostly used for the other videos that I do. But there is ASF stuff on there. So do join it if you haven't yet. I don't know how many clicks it's going to get from me doing this video, but I'll try and raise the number of how many times it can be used, because that's what I'm doing now for Discord links. Is like they have 10 uses and then the link doesn't work anymore, like for 10 invites, in case I get spam bots or whatever. Because I haven't necessarily had a spam bot yet, but we've had a few people just coming in and going on a rampage, posting nonsense. But otherwise, there hasn't been anything I can't handle. And I do have a few mods, but I don't think one of them knows what they're doing, and the other one is too busy with a lot of other stuff. So, anyway, that's another story for another day. I've already posted all the topics there because I did ask the Discord server, the people there, if they had any questions they'd like to ask for this particular session, and I have a few, but we'll be looking at them towards the end of the show just to end things off. But for now, I have added one extra topic, but seeing as no one brought it up, then it's all right. So don't worry about it. Um, but I'll go through them all now, just so people are aware of what we're actually going to cover here. I'm going to talk about computer issues that I had last year, which prevented and delayed every goddamn frickin' thing about this show. Um, and then we've also got what was really meant to happen at Bash the Brands, as in, like, before I turned heel, and what changed and why. So we'll be going through that. Um, Even if that's going to be pretty vague, but I think people will be very interested in what we had instead. Even if there's not a lot of changes from what I remember, I've got them all written down somewhere. But yeah, so we'll be talking about that. I will be talking about the impact of premieres. It'll probably be me mostly, if it isn't already. Yeah. But I'll be talking about that. How the impact of premieres is, you know, well, we'll talk about that when we'll talk about that. I've got a topic called "We did 20 takes and that was the best one." Because there was a few things that we could have done a lot better, a few things that went wrong, and a few things that I just hate that exist, but they had to be on the show because time and because um, they were good enough in the end, but I had to use them because it's really tough to get an ideal, perfect situation sometimes with matches, but whatever. But I will explain more on that subject when we get to it. We're going to be also discussing the future, the changes to come for season 2. I put voice actors with a question mark here, but we're going to be, we'll cover that, talking about voice actors, because I may be looking for some. Hint, 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 wink, wink. Nudge, nudge. Yeah. um, we'll also be talking about how you guys can contribute in the future. Ooh. Make an impressive noise. Or an impressed noise, even. Ooh. Thanks for the delay and then the optimism. Uh, yeah, we'll be talking about how you guys can contribute in the future. Ooh. The added topic that I've put in here that isn't on the Discord is I need to talk people through what I've been having to fucking deal with when it comes to making this show, because the ASF folder has been with me since the dawn of time, and it's a fucking mess and really demonstrates how unorganized of a jerk I was way back when. And I still have it in all its uncluttered glory, or cluttered glory, I guess I should call it. But we take a dive into the ASF folder on my computer that's been with me, as I said, for goddamn ages. Just so you can see how unorganized I am compared to with how organized I am now. I have a good comparison. You will hear about it. Also, we'll be giving out maybe some debut clues of who may be debuting in season 2 or even sooner than that. Ooh. Now we'll make an impressed noise about that one. Because we've already been talking about that subject and how we can incorporate maybe some new faces into our tournament. So we'll see. But things of interest certainly there. And as a final bit of fun, we will not only be answering stuff from the Discord server, any questions there, but also from memory. We will try and name every match that took place on big events. And you can even join in yourselves if you want beforehand, before you hear our results, or you can even correct us, because I'm obviously not looking at what matches took place. We're going to absolutely see, well, I guess in post-production we'll see who the real winner was, but yeah. We'll try and remember our own history of what we've done with the show, basically. That's going to be fun. All right, so let's get started. We've already been running for 10 minutes, and if I wanted this to go for 3 hours, then let's go. So, computer issues last year. I have already said this in like a vlog, but I feel like it needs, because I want to obviously paint the picture of where I was at with the show, and then everything decided to cowput. So it's August last year, and I usually, just like I'm having this year, the entire month off because I conveniently work in a school. Or that's one of my jobs anyway. But you know, when you're not going to school, when you're not working in a school during the holiday break here in England, then I have the majority of August off. So it's nice because that's where I said, right, I'm gonna get everything out, and we were getting everything out. Although I was getting stuff out before, I don't know. Question mark. The memory's not a little bit vague on that front, but yeah, I just said, right, we're going to be able to end it. We're going to be able to get this all done by September because I'll have everything done by then. And like I said, majority of this show that the Bash of the Brands that we're currently showing on screen was done, like everything. All of it, and then I was putting it together as well. Even the pre-show. The pre-show actually was pretty much done, but my computer at that point was showing signs of dying already. Although the incident, apparently, according to my investigations and a few other people, the problem may have not been what I thought it was originally, because I thought it was just me doing the videos was killing it, but it turns out maybe it wasn't. But that's what I'm about to talk about anyway. So yeah, the pre-show had been because of the computer being a bitch sort of shit when it came to saving finalized projects or whatever. I was saving the pre-show in chunks. Yeah, the pre-show that was about 40 minutes long needed to be saved in chunks. That's how bad the old computer was being. But it was chunks of like, we'd have like the interview segment, and then the match, and then the entrances, and then the match, and then the entrances, and then the match. There was only 3, but that was the chunks that I was saving it as, just one entrance, or one bunch of entrances, and the match, and so on and so forth. So that was pretty much done, and then I just needed to save the whole video, because my old computer, and I guess in general, me editing stuff in general, and then saving it, seems to be problematic. Not all the time though, but yeah, because that computer, was having outside issues, as I said. It wasn't necessarily the video. I think before all of this was happening, before even I was having issues with the computer. I was having to babysit it, sort of, because I always check. I have a program which tells me what the temperature is running, and I can control fan speeds and whatever with it. Like, it literally just digs down deep and says, right, what would you like to do with the inside of your computer? And I'm like, right, so if it's getting more hotter, then I will increase the fan speed or whatever. And then if computers are complicated when it comes to heat. But inevitably, I think the computer came down to the fact that it wasn't very well ventilated. What was happening is because I built the last computer myself. So one fan was the fan that brings the air in to cool everything down, was being more effective than the one to vent it back out, so that the air gets a constant circulation inside. So the air was coming in, but it was staying there. So it was slowly like getting hotter from everything in the computer running. So it was just basically making a sort of semi. The air was going out, sure, of the vent, but it was making a sort of greenhouse effect inside the computer, and slowly but surely it would get hotter and hotter and hotter and hotter and hotter until the point where it would just overheat and then it would crash. It would just completely die. So that's why I'm saying I needed to save the projects as smaller ones, because the more editing that was involved in the project of the video, the more it would overheat because it had more to obviously save and whatever. But then after I've done that chunk, then I can put that back into the editor with all the chunks saved, and then that's less stress on the computer because it's just saving those already existing chunks just in 3 sections. So the pre-show, as I said, was absolutely done. Bash the Brands, however, was still in its editing sort of stage. So I had everything together. And I was like, right, I'm going to save this tomorrow. Because I didn't have any time to save it, because the length of it that it was. And obviously we did 2 parts as well. But the length of it that it was, usually a 2-hour video takes almost a day to save, regardless of computer or whatever, because it's got to render it and whatever and do all that nonsense. But it had to put it together, and it takes 2-hour video takes about, well, an hour long video takes, with editing, mind you, takes about 5 hours. So a 2-hour video can take up to 10, maybe even a little bit more, because there's more editing involved. So I was like, right, we're going to save chunks of Bash of the Brands, and I'm going to do that tomorrow. But obviously I'm going to try and make them half an hour long rather than 15, and it was a big gamble, but I was going to be like, right, we're going to try and do it anyway. But obviously that never happened, because that night, literally after I had finished, I'd finished doing well, hang on a minute. I'd edited it a couple of days ago, and it was sort of finished, but all in its different stages. So I had several edits of all the show going forward, and I'd just done a Let's Play video, which I think was rather long. It might have been an hour-long one. Not that I'm saying that affected it, but I think internally, because suddenly as I'm using my computer afterwards, it just suddenly, the screen froze. And I got like, does anyone remember those old televisions where, you'd get like, on an old video play, you'd get like a part of the tape was damaged, so you get that sort of flickery sort of, what do you call it? So I've forgotten the name of it. I don't know what you're trying to describe here. The tape, it'd be like, it'd be damaged, so you'd get some static. That's the word I was looking for. Static. So there'd be like this static line going across. Not necessarily static, but it would be blurry and stuff, and like the lines would just be going like as if the screen was super stretched, and there was 2 lines at the bottom of the screen, and then everything just died, and that's how the computer died on me. And I'm like, okay, that's weird, because obviously this is early days, and I had no idea this was going to happen out of everything. So I restart the computer. Computer doesn't boot up. It freezes at the Windows logo. Like it doesn't load the desktop at all. So I'm like, oh, okay. Uh-oh. So to cut a long story short, because as I said, I've probably mentioned this already, but after investigations, I am very tempted to say that the verdict was, because of the lack of cooling, well, it was cooling enough, but because everything was slowly cooking, so to speak, the more I was using the computer, which I don't use the computer that often, that much, surprisingly enough, but because I'm out during the day, but during the evenings I guess it's on. But I never turn it on in the mornings or anything before I go, because that's just me getting ready to go, and then I'm buggering off. Um, but yeah, in the evening time, it was just I was putting everything on internally on the computer to a very slow cook. So I conclude that because of the effect that I got with the screen, um, the effect that I got with the screen uh, was down to the graphics chip. The graphics chip, because it was the computer would still work in safe mode, which is how I was able to just about manage to bring everything over to the new computer, because I could just access it through the safe mode and then put everything on the external hard drive, which is now hooked up to the new computer, and everything is on there, and I'm lucky I had enough space on there. But the only things that I lost, obviously, are the only things that I lost were the editing that I had done for Bash of the Brands. So, because my program, the way it does things is you'd get the piece of the footage, you'd put it on the timeline bar thing for it to read, and then you can just edit it from there, like trim it down or whatever, do whatever you want with it through the editing process. But if you try and say, if you've cut a decent amount of it for whatever reason, and then it has to read where the root file has come from on the timeline for it to know what to play and then what to do when I save it as a video. So transferring computers, it's obviously I've got the whole thing edited, but the only problem is the timeline. Every single bar on that timeline was busy going, "Where's the file? I can't see the file. Where did you put the file?" Because the file was on my computer originally, and then I obviously had to transfer it to the external drive. And if I tell it to, I can search for the file again so it can put it back in. But the only problem with that is it will put it in unedited. So if I cut the beginning out, or if I cut the end out, if I cut anything out, it will only play. It will play the beginning of the file that I've told it to play, and then if there's a bit that's cut and then put back in, then I tell that to, that's the file, then it will start from the beginning. Am I making sense with this? Probably. So yeah, if I've split the file in two and then I tell each section of the editor that this is the same video, it will just play the beginning twice. Basically is what I'm saying. So I would need to re-edit everything. So I had to re-edit everything when I say edit. But the pre-show, as I said, was already in its chunk form and ready to go. So it was like, right, at least I don't have to do that. I just have to put the chunks together, and that's easy. Just go 1, 2, 3. There we go. There's the pre-show. But with everything else, I had to re-edit it, and I mean everything. I mean, like, even the fucking the entrances with the animation on it, because every bit of entrance had the animation of the nameplates. Ever since the nameplates have come, they've been a pain in the ass, but I don't mind them. They're actually, I like them, and we'll be improving those on season 2. But yeah, everything that you see on the screen for Bash of the Brands had to be re-edited, re-put in, whatever, music, entrances, voiceovers for interviews, everything. And everything means everything. Yes. So yeah, that's my computer issues, but I believe it was just because the the graphics chip was just slowly overheating over time, and it eventually just gave up because it couldn't load the graphics for the computer to load up the desktop. Like I said, load in safe mode, because that uses very little amounts of the computer system itself to actually boot, which is why it's called safe mode, because it doesn't use any major systems, whereas obviously if you load it up normally, it would use the graphics chip and it would use everything else. It's just a fundamental, basic way to. Everyone knows what fucking safe mode is. I'll shut up. I don't know what safe mode is. Shut up, you. You don't know the definition of the word safe. That's true. So yeah. So that's how everything happened last year. Otherwise, I would have had everything done by September. I said in a video, I swear, I said it was either going to be September because I would have had everything done. I don't know how the editing saving process. That's why I was kind of like on a thing. I was like, because I'm obviously trying to find a way to obviously prevent the computer from dying when it does long saves. But that wasn't the problem in the end. It was doing fine. But the computer just gave up naturally just from me using it without even using the editing program. So yeah, because that computer was built for the editing stuff and the video stuff. Only so long, I guess. But it wasn't that messed up the computer in the end. But I think it was just, like I said, just it wasn't. I don't want to say I was mismanaging and maintaining it because I wasn't. Because I was, because everything was. If something went wrong, I found a way to fix it. Some of the fixes were temporary until I got a better one, but I would get a better one. So I was maintaining it as much as I could, and then saying, right, I don't want this to happen in the future, so I'm doing X, Y, and Z to avoid that. But of course, you can't predict what the fucking computer does. And lo and behold, I couldn't predict that it was just going to crash on my face and give me a graphical error and then not load up the desktop anymore. So there we go. Luckily, everything else that was connected to it wasn't damaged or anything. I still have all of my original hardware that was attached to the computer, including the external hard drive, my mouse, my keyboard, and all of the recording software that I use. Obviously, well, recording hardware that I use as well. So nothing was damaged, for sure, other than the computer. I don't know why it would affect anything else, but I'm just saying. So yeah, because it would have either, when I can find my words, it would have either been finished by, as I say, September or November, because I know I would have been busy on October. I can always say the Let's Plays never delay this show, but in March and October maybe they do, because I have to be non-stop uploading videos every day for those events. But sometimes I've live streamed stuff for October, but that's another story for another day. But yeah, for the majority of the time, my mind is elsewhere during the months of March and October. But for the rest of the 10 months of the year, I can do everything. So yeah. Anyway, that's that problem out of the way, and this computer is currently doing pretty well. Especially if you're seeing this, if we're going to do this for a full 3 hours. But like I said, the fact that there's going to be so little editing with this, like I'm just going to be putting this on the video, this dialogue, whatever file you want to call it, this audio file, and then just saving it. And then it's going to take a while, but it's going to be possible because this computer will do it. Because this one's actually better ventilated, I've discovered. So because it's pre-built, at least from my knowledge, because the person who gave it to me, I was like, I asked them, how do you open it? And they go, and they were like, with a crowbar, because you can't open it. So, yeah, if I have a problem with it internally at any point, then yeah. But this is probably only a temporary computer. I probably want to get a better one at some point, but it's the money I'm worried about, especially with ROM prices or whatever. For now, it'll do. But it's not my baby. My baby's died, unfortunately. He had 5, maybe 6 glorious years of service before it decided to die on me. And I was very attached to that one. That's why I looked after it very, very much, because I built it. I didn't build this one. I hate it. But hey, it's doing me good so far. So I'm not going to diss it on that front. Anyway, let's talk about now what was really going to happen at Bash of the Brands. And I do have a list here of what we had originally. Yeah, here it is. So, what was... Yeah, so I might as well go through them as I've listed them here. So Bomberman versus Knuckles was already going to be planned. Obviously, things would have gone a little bit differently. Yeah, things would have gone a little bit differently. I've got too many windows on my computer running, but don't worry, it's fine. unless it isn't, and this computer's fine. Like, even during these heat waves, this computer's been fine. It's been very well ventilated. It might have been going up a few degrees. That was one thing I should actually point out before we talk about this, is to put it in perspective, the temperatures that my old computer was getting to when it was saving a project was about 90 degrees centigrade, which is pretty darn hot. But it wasn't dying, but it was struggling because of that. So that's proof that the fans kind of weren't working, or it was probably my tampering. I don't know. We need to just digress and move on. But to put it in perspective, this computer, when it's saving something, hits 50 or 60. 60 rarely. Like, if we've had a heat wave, it hits 60. But otherwise, it's been like 45, 50 degrees centigrade. So it's hot, but it's manageable. And at least the heat, the air is being filtered back out of the computer. So it's fine. We have no problems. We have no issues. I can't wait for it to be winter again and I can drop back down to 40 when it's saving a thing. So put me more at ease. Because I keep looking at it and sometimes it's climbing and I'm like, ugh. Giving me flashbacks. Not that was again the thing being the problem. Anyway, I'll shut up. So yeah, Bomberman vs. Knuckles was always planned for the show. We needed Bomberman to have a big victory. But of course it was going to be more... the roles had been reversed. Knuckles was still going to be a heel, and Bomberman would have still retained his face persona. So... Yeah, and the finish was always going to be the same, as I said. We needed Bomberman with a big win to sort of... We're trying to nudge him into the title picture slowly, if you can believe that. Hint, hint. Very slowly, though. Yeah. You're not even being kayfabe, and you're against it. Then again, you were against Mandy. Yeah, and look how that turned out. No, Bomberman's fine. He's fine. I don't actually personally have an issue. All right. So yeah, that was always planned. Tikal versus Rouge would have been different. We needed a way for Rouge to come back after being fired. So that was the match that we put in place, but it would have otherwise been Tikal because of the whole poke in the eye stunt at Mascot Mania. We would have had Tikal versus Lisa instead, as a sort of revenge match. It was either going to be Lisa or Samus. We couldn't quite figure because Samus would have turned, and Rouge would have turned as well. We just would have done a face turn. For them, and then we were very much up in the air. Like I said, we had not everything was completely planned, but we would have worked out eventually. We would have had to work out by the time Mascot Mania was over what was actually gonna, because this is ages ago now. But yeah, that was the original kind of planned match. It was either Lisa going to be facing Tikal, or Lisa would have been facing Peach for the women's title. Or Rouge again, or Samus. We just didn't quite know which way to lean. We were like, does Lisa get rightfully the reshot because the title was stolen from her by Peach, or does she take revenge from the act that Tikal did, or vice versa with Rouge and Samus. We weren't quite sure who was going to get it, but it was somewhere along the lines. We were even surmising having a tag match and just combine both of them and have Peach and Decal versus Samus and Rouge. And then, unfortunately, the women's title wouldn't have been contended with at all. So we were kind of not very up for that idea. No, we wanted the women's title on the line, so we're going to pick one of those. Although I was pushing more for we needed a face turn from those two, and sort of like a sort of congratulations for like being the jobbers, so to speak, to Peach, and being her lackeys. So this is, I thought that would be a better story, but again, Lisa getting the rematch, the one-on-one rematch, would have been just as good. But I was tilting more for Rouge or Samus to get it than Lisa. And then we would have had Tikal versus Lisa. I was more keen for that one. But yeah, so that we ended up with Tikal versus Rouge because now Rouge was gone. So we're like, how do we bring her back? And then you just came up with the brilliant idea of like, right, I'm going to be the good guy and I'm going to rehire people who have been wronged. And that's how we're going to do things. So there you go. So that was that explained away. So yeah, the women's title match would not have been Peach versus Mandy. Mandy would have been in another match, but we'll move on to that in a minute. So women's champion by accident because I turned heel. But I'm actually kind of glad that Mandy has won the women's title because that's going to help push, I believe, the women's division now that we've got the brand merge. Now every woman can compete, or every female can compete for the title, and then whoever wins it, obviously off of Mandy, people are going to say, you know, that's impressive. Watch out for that one. They beat Mandy, even though Kana beat Mandy on Raw, but she's not in the company anymore. That was more like a good farewell sort of thing, and no hard feelings, blah blah blah. You know, that old shtick. But yeah, for the odd chance that Kana may come back, because that character's out of my control basically. So it was just like, right, we're gonna say goodbye to Kana, and then I can also get rid of Aki. Because we can make way for people who are not original creations or OCs, if you will. More canon-based characters. But who will that be? We'll find out in a little bit. I would be excited, but I don't know who they are. Yeah, well, video. You're not the video game guy, you're the wrestling guy, so that's fair enough. Though I have been trying to do research. Yes, very good, very good. What was next? What have I got here on the list? Oh yeah, the Simpson Clan and Team X Green was actually always planned too. We needed, but the original storyline for that wouldn't have just been the anti-heroes have ordered you to take them out, you know. Because it was Scourge and Luigi with two big victories coming out of Mascot Mania, and then the Simpson Clan obviously coming out with a loss after the Steel Cage match for Mania, and then it was just like they're envious of the people who've scored a victory, so start attacking them. But the motive was the actions were the same, but the motive was different. So this would have been they would have gone after Amy still to get under Scourge's skin, so to speak, and then we would have had that match because of, and then Luigi and Scourge would be like, let's team up, we're Mascot Mania winners. in my most Scourge voice I can use right now. I'm trying not to kill my throat, so if we're going to be talking for this long, so I'm trying not to use character voices, but yeah. So that was always the plan, but just the way we did it was different. But the Simpson Clan still would have won, just so we can again set up that street fight for the final Raw. So that was always in place. That was always in place. As much as I would have given Team X Green the win. We needed something to go positive out on, and you're right. You came up with the idea of the street fight on Raw because it would have been a fun match to do, and for the fans to see. So I just went with it. Because usually I get the final say anyway, so yeah. But as tempted as I was to get Team Screen the win, I think the Simpson clan needed something under their belt. So we gave them a big event win. And then, yeah, because they were opening the show as well. So I'm just like, wouldn't it be a swerve if I was just like, let the heel team win? Just to kick off the show. Because the original plan for Bash the Brands, well, the new one, was we were going to have a lot of the heels win first while I was on commentary and be like, they start settling in that, SmackDown's going to win this completely, hands down. And then suddenly, when it came to the more important championship matches, then the faces started to win back. But we kind of mixed it up because I knew Shadow was going to win and whatever. So, yeah. Needed some bad guys to win. And of course, Aki was leaving at that point, so we were just like, right, let's give Shadow it back, and he's getting some heel heat back, and then he's going to be Intercontinental Champion again for the foreseeable future. We'll see. And again, whoever beats him is going to be very credible. Or is going to get a lot of credit. So we're always thinking about that. Like, we can make the champion or whoever is the imposing force like dominant, because then when someone actually takes them down, you take notice of that person. As long as you follow through with the momentum, then you're going to succeed in building a new star, or hint hint, just creating someone that's worth paying attention to rather than just the status quo of this guy's the main event and he's tough and no one can beat him. Even though we do like that too, but again, it's we need that a little bit of. Sometimes it's a really good way to make a new star as well, make someone pay attention to someone else. Yeah, no matter how you shape it. So that's what we're going for with that as well. Yes, we always try and look for the best option to come out of every match. So Shadow winning would not actually get the heel heat back. After him, I guess, losing so many times or whatever, or being made to look like a schmuck by Aki. But now he's got the IC title back and still looking dominant, and looking dominant going into season 2 probably. Like I said, we haven't drawn much up, but we've drawn a decent outline, but nothing is set completely in stone yet. But we're getting there, because we need to be shaping stuff. The idea of this round robin tournament coming up is it's going to help shape how we open up season 2. So it's well worth the watch. I mean, you're going to probably watch anyway, but. Because you need to see who's going to be the number 1 contender for Metal Sonic coming into season 2. But it's also going to lay a lot of groundwork for us in terms of how we go forward with storylines and plots and character development with matches or rivalries, etc., etc. So we will be working it out very soon, because I plan to actually record most of it during August when I have my time off again. So hopefully I'll get it all done, because there's a lot of matches to be involved. And they all have to have the right result too. Yes. So what else was next coming up? Astroth versus Chaos was always planned again as well, because it was going to be, but it wasn't going to be the third match. It was going to be the second match. So there was, it's safe to say, I don't know who hates it more, but I personally hate the fact that we did follow through just with this match after the storyline had changed from me turning heel, because we was like, we can still do Astros versus Chaos, but we're like, as we were planning stuff, like, how do we get Astros to stay on the show without being fired now? As you said, we said, why don't we just promise him another Chaos match, and then he can get it, and then that'll be the second one, and we don't do it for. But I needed another match. I needed people to actually feel that Chaos could lose. Not that he did, but we hate the fact that it's the third match instead because it's making Astros look really bad. But I think Chaos is a credible enough person to beat him 3 times and still leave Astros fairly unscathed because I'm sure he can beat everyone else if we let him. So I feel like it's not as bad, but we didn't plan it ever to be the third match between the two. And it wouldn't have been a pinfall only as well. It would have just been another one-on-one. We wouldn't have added that stipulation in, but I feel like that stipulation would have we added in because it was the third match, and we needed people to still realize that Chaos could possibly lose. So we made it pinfalls only. But yeah, we had the idea of it being a third match in the set, and Chaos winning all 3 of them. But that doesn't mean that Astroth is absolutely done for in our book. It was just, again, because of this idiot turning heel without telling me. So I needed the kick. I'll probably talk a bit about it later, but I think fans already know why I did it. Is because I needed that. Well, I think we explained it on the making of Behind the Scenes of Mascot Mania. I did it because I needed that kick. Because we were wondering if this show was even going to go on. Can I do it anymore? Because I was losing the will to live when it came to this show. It was being well done by a few things that wasn't me. Let's put it that way. I feel like the heel run has sort of reinvigorated me, but again, at a cost of delaying the show, which is not what we wanted. But it was fun to like remake storylines again. That's what gave me the kick to do it in the first week. So I'm like, if I turn heel and cost Manic, then this will completely change, not everything, but a lot of things. And I can have fun because these storylines had come from like fucking ages ago, and it's just like the flair is gone because it's just like I'm not planning anything anymore. I'm just making it, and I haven't got the motivation to just make it. I want to plan it too, and so I thought the heel turn would make us plan everything, and it was really fun actually planning everything again. And don't you lie, it was. It was a fun challenge, I'll give you that. We tried to keep the card as close as possible to what it was, but it was tough. And we had to make a few sacrifices, said, with Chaos and Astroth being the third match. But it is what it is, and it did give us the kick, or gave you the kick. It just gave me a bit of inconvenience, but I did enjoy it. Don't get me wrong, I enjoy the planning of all this, but you're the guy behind it all, and it is, I feel like, in a drag if you're doing the bulk of the work, because I'm just here for the fun of it. So I didn't really, in the end, after you explained it, I didn't really have a problem with it, and we just got back on to work, and it was kind of actually fun to exchange ideas and stuff for what we could do between now and then for Bash of the Brands, or the Raws and Smashdowns in between, and then the one night only event we had as well. That was all completely from scratch. We wouldn't have had that one night only event, but we realized we needed one just to make sure that Link would debut. The only reason we had the one night only the Raw to the Max show was to Link to debut or re-debut. Yeah, basically. He needed to come back because there was no way he was joining the anti-heroes. No, that didn't make any sense whatsoever. So yeah, we had that show just to bring back Link. Now you know. Now you know. But hey, we made it fun. Made it very fun. That was the whole point. What else we got there? So the hardcore title match would not have been. Who was it in the end? I haven't got it written down for some reason. But it would have been Grim versus Mandy. This is where the Mandy match would have come in. Because Grim would have still been hardcore champion. Oh yeah, we had Nightmare versus Link. Oh yeah, I've got it actually written down underneath. Link versus Nightmare would have happened, but it would have happened on a normal Smashdown sort of thing. This is what we had planned, pretty much. um, because of Nightmare getting involved in whatever. But the anti-heroes would have been dead, so Link would have got a shot at Nightmare. Uh, just on a Smashdown, nothing really special, but a much needed sort of revenge match. And then you say, why don't we just have that match for the title? Because that would be added with hardcore rules then, and we could just have the revenge match on Bash of the Brands. And I said, that's great. And we just went with it. And then Nightmare was, as we said, gifted. That was your idea too. It's just because we needed some heel heat there. If we didn't need enough already, but as we were doing this on a big event, you said Nightmare needs to just be gifted, seeing as we're not going to be having Grim around anymore either. He'd rather quit as hardcore champion and then lose it rather than join the anti-heroes with it. And so gift it to Nightmare, and then we can use that with Link as ammunition, and then we can have a hardcore match between those two, having a revenge match for the big event. Yeah, I just felt that was the best call I could have made. So that's that story. I don't think I've got anything else to add. But yeah, we would have had Grim versus Mandy for the hardcore title, as you were mentioning. Yeah. But Grim would have retained. But we wanted SmackDown versus Raw, and obviously Grim was going to be for SmackDown, and Mandy was going to be for Raw. But it would have been instead of a breakup. Well, they would have broken up, but it would have been like, nice to see you again, sort of Grim. I see you have a title there, and then she just starts attacking him, which I was all for. Before I turned heel, but that wasn't to be, and then Grim would have retained and beat Mandy and said, ha 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 ha, I win. So Grim would have been still hardcore champion. The times have changed. But yeah, I feel like that was actually a better result of me turning heel rather than a negative. Most of them we try to turn into a positive, obviously, rather than a negative. But that was one of the better ones, I feel, instead of Grim versus Mandy. And it's turned Mandy into a definite women's division competitor now. Which is where I like her. You don't like Mandy being against the guys. But I feel like that's her character, that's her mentality, is she doesn't lose, so why should she just compete with the women? Why can't she compete with everyone? That was my motivation behind her character being in the ASF anyway. So yeah, that would have taken place instead. The TLC match was always planned. Shadow, except that we did the whole again switcheroony. We would have had Shadow go to SmackDown to sort of protect Alex. Alex would have still been like a backstage interviewer instead. We would have still kept the commentary teams of me and you pretty much, because I wasn't turning heel, so we would have been fun with all that. But Alex would have just been exclusively interviewing on Raw, so we would have banished Shadow on. That would have been his punishment for attacking her backstage, is he would have gone to SmackDown and have to put up with the Freedom Movement, which was some fun shenanigans that you'll never see. You're such a tease. But yeah, that would have been shenanigans and whatnot. But yeah, maybe one day we'll do the actual alternate timeline and actually show you all the stuff we kind of had planned for the Raws and Smashdowns if the Freedom Movement would have won and I wouldn't have turned heel. The biggest what if scenario, but we're hopefully if satisfying you for the most part here with this lineup. So yeah, but the TLC match would have been set up because Aki would have still been the Intercontinental Champion nonetheless, and then Shadow would be like, we would have given him the TLC match because the Freedom Movement would have set something up. Whereas if he won, he would get the match that he wants. because he would have been terrorizing them for a shot at the IC title. So yeah, but we had to change things around, and Shadow Wood just defected to SmackDown instead. Because I kind of like that when we were just hiding the fact that he was going to do it, because he said, "I'm not changing brands just to get a shot. I'm not joining the anti-heroes," and then he does. So swerve, bro. What other match was next? Always planned. The tag team title match was actually always planned. But again, the setup would have been different, because I was just like, right, who's gonna actually beat Dimension fucking X? and uh, and you said, with your vast knowledge of video games, said Mario and Sonic. So uh, well, I at least I know who those two are from my lack of video game knowledge. I know they're supposed to be like the biggest sort of draws, and so um, I'm doing quotation marks, but yeah, we just figured, and the whole setup would have been Dimension X sort of attack. The like we said, the story would have been the same, more or less, but instead of them being told to take out Sonic and Mario, we wouldn't have actually done the injury angles, although we might have as well. We might have actually done the injury angles anyway. We don't know, but that was more set in stone after the fact that we were setting up how to conduct this rivalry. But we probably would have gone that route anyway, of injuring the neck and injuring the leg of the two other guys. So, yeah, but this match was always going to be set no matter what, because it was just like, we need Dimension X to lose, because obviously they're still going to be the tag team champions after Mania, and yet they're with the anti-heroes, but now, they got a bit more free reign, because they're not tied to the anti-heroes anymore, because they would have been abolished. And so what do we do with them? We make them go after the top two guys, the top two draws in the company, which was Sonic and Mario. So yeah, that was. I don't think I've got anything else to add to that one. Um, but they always would have won. And they would have said, their mascot mania losers. They lost their big matches, but Dimension X didn't. So now we're going to use you as stepping stones. So that was still there. But yeah, the motivation to attack them was just changed. That's all. Tails versus Metal Sonic obviously would definitely not have happened. It was going to be obviously Metal Sonic versus your new YouTube champion Manic, which never happened thanks to me turning heel. You're very welcome. But that's not to say Manic can't win still in season 2. But we're sorting that out. Yes. We're correcting the issues on that front, because you were very adamant on Manic winning. I was, and then I'm just like, this is the only way I'm gonna make a big impact and turn heel and screw everything, is mess up the main event. So that's what I did, because it was the only way I was going to be able to get in there anyway, because I'm like, right, after we've recorded the actual show, I'm just going to butt in and cut everything off, and then quote unquote attack you with a chair, and then come in, and because this was all recorded after we'd actually or the attack was actually recorded, because you don't watch me record all the shows, so I had the attack already planned. I'm so deceiving. He sometimes doesn't know what I'm going to do for the shows. You can talk about it if you want. Yeah, no, he'd literally surprise me. He'll do something, like, very subtle sometimes, most of the time. The something that we didn't plan. I know he's, like, working with a video game, and the video game isn't always going to work with him, but in terms of, like, what we've actually planned, and sometimes, it'd be the occasional, this promo didn't exist, we didn't plan for it, or this moment didn't happen that I asked to happen, and we had something else instead, and I'm such a... I'm such a bitch. But I thought it's always nice to throw in the odd surprise to get an honest reaction out of you. So that's the reason I do it. If I get a chance to and I feel like it's good enough and I can get away with it, then I'm going to get away with it. So that is that. But yeah, what were we talking about? Because suddenly we trade on. Oh yeah, me turning heel. So obviously Metal Sonic and Manic did not happen. It had to be Metal Sonic versus Tails instead, which I don't know felt better for me in a way. But to put everyone in a more negative light on me turning heel, because this is probably the bad alternative timeline that we've ended up in, is we would have had Metal Sonic versus Manic, which would have been amazing. But we set this all up at the Mascot Rumble. The last two people in the Rumble with the last man standing stipulation at the end with the final four from both the Raw Rumble and the SmackDown Rumble. Metal Sonic and Manic were the last two, and then we did the whole, you know, I'm going to be playing as Manic, and then I'm going to completely destroy Metal Sonic. But when I sense that the referee is going to count to the 10, we're going to do the story where Manic feels actual sympathy because he's that kind of guy. You know, that Metal has been scratching and clawing to get to Mascot Mania for a shot at the world title. Then he's going to actually just interrupt the count. And then he's going to lose instead and give Metal the shot. Even if he's got money in the bank, just Manic's sympathy act coming out to, you know, draw on his character. It might have made him look a bit stupid, I don't know. But that was the whole build-up. And then it would have been Manic and Metal Sonic with this rivalry going forward into Bash of the Brands with Manic saying, because this match, guys, would have been a last man standing match too. Because we were going to repeat the whole thing. We were gonna have Manic say, I think you were just about to say this anyway, but I'll say it. But we were going to have Manic do a promo saying, this time I'm not going to interrupt the count. So yeah, that's how we were gonna set it up. We had it set up with that one kick at Mascot Rumble, with the whole thing, and of course then Metal Sonic giving Manic the opportunity because that's what Metal would have come back with is you wouldn't be YouTube champion if I hadn't had the generosity to give you that. If you hadn't shown me the generosity, then I wouldn't have had the generosity to give you a chance at the YouTube title with the Money in the Bank. So there would have been a mutual side, but there also would have been a my side is better than yours to emphasize the whole SmackDown versus Raw sort of thing for Bash of the Brands, and so their respective leaders for the locker room or the champion holders or whatever would have been like, we're glad we're here, but we're the other guy's better than the other guy. Manic would have been saying he's better than Metal because he gave him the chance. And Metal would have been saying, I'm definitely better than him because I gave him the chance as well. And we had it all set up. And I've gone and ruined it. And it would have been a last man standing match, as I would have said. Who would have won? Oh. Well. Again, this was in very early stages. But I was pulling for a Metal win. I don't know where I was sitting. I've completely forgotten. Because, of course, they both would have won their titles at the big event. Manic being in the main event. So I might have been leaning more towards Manic to win because he would have gone through that 3 stages of hell just to get to the point where he's at. So he would have been able to overcome Metal Sonic at the end. And like we said, that promo set everything up with the moment of the kick. It's amazing how we set that up. That was actually pretty perfect in terms of planning. Yeah, just that last man standing match I did that was for the Rumble just worked off like a charm. We got rid of Sonic first because he was in the match the longest. That was a first recording as well. Sometimes I do get away with it. I get away with the first recording of every match. And Sonic was out first, and then we got rid of Bart. And then Metal Sonic and Manic fought up the ramp, and that one kick ruined it all for Manic. But he wouldn't have made the same mistake twice. And actually we would have actually leaned towards Manic winning. So Manic would have been undisputed champion. But let us not take that away from Metal Sonic, because I love Metal Sonic being, because you do his voice, but I heavily edit it ridiculously to the point where I feel like people can't even hear what he's actually saying. But I'm hoping that people can. I'm trying to fix how distorted it is, but trying to still make it robotic enough. Um, but yeah, so I feel like it's a better moniker for Metal because he's got that presence. Manic is just like a yeah, dude, whoa, bro, whatever sort of mentality. So I feel like the undisputed title, giving it to him, would have been nice. Don't get me fucking wrong, but I feel like it really suits Metal better. I just love that. So maybe it worked out in the end to be the better thing. But again, I will leave that up to you guys. What do you think? Would Manic deserve the? Would you like Manic to be undisputed champion over Metal Sonic? Let me know, because I kind of like Metal Sonic. He's got now that stature of being like the one to beat, and he's got that presence as well. Because we make him like he's basically our equivalent of the Undertaker because of the entrance and the moves and whatever. So he's got that presence, whereas Manic has the presence of of the one we don't like. Yeah, I don't know why I gave. I'm a big Manic fan, so I don't know why, but I just feel like because of the whole scene of rapping thing. And Manic seems like because he's from Sonic Underground, so he's doing all the singing and stuff, quote unquote singing anyway. But it just suited him, just that persona. That's why I gave him it in the end. So just like, yeah, whatever. I don't have to make him act like Cena. He can be a cool guy. Yeah, we know we gave him anywhere close to Cena's gimmick other than the first one that he came out with the whole rapping thing. We didn't even do that a lot. Because me and you both don't like that even. No, I don't like the rapping element. It's just, maybe when someone else was doing it, like I still would like Kurt Angle's rap against, that was fun. I think I can still remember the lyrics. But we're not going to research. We're not going to do them now because we need to move on. As disappointed as you can look about that. So yeah. And then, of course, the real switcheroony, the final match here that I've got listed is the unsanctioned match. But that would have been, dun dun dun, an unsanctioned match between me and Tails. How the hell would that come about? So Tails would have accused me of like mismanaging, and obviously his faction's been abolished, and why did you let Manic do this? And he would have, obviously the storyline said that he was going to be fired, so he would have been leaving the company, so he would have been attacking me and blaming me for basically all of the deeds that had gone on. But ironically, in the twisted, faded world that we live in now, he actually has benefited from me instead of the latter. Tails probably still would have won the match though, but I would have loved. Tails is my Manic is high up, but Tails is my favorite Sonic character. Just so you know. So I would have loved to have an unsanctioned match with Tails and let him win. He still would have been a heel, but I would have liked that. It's great. But again, how times have changed because of that one thing you did. But we move past the stage of blaming each other on whatever. So I've moved past that stage, and we're here where we're here. We're in it. We're in it, and there's no changing it back. Yeah, so deal with it. So yeah, that would have happened. That was so Bomberman versus Knuckles. Just to reiterate, would have always happened. Tikal versus Rouge would have been Tikal versus either Lisa or Samus. ASF Women's Title match would have been Peach versus either Lisa, Rouge, or Samus. We weren't completely decided, or it would have been a tag with Peach and Tikal and Samus and Rouge. No, it wouldn't. So the. Simpson Clan Team X Green was always planned, but obviously the motivation was different. Astaroth versus Chaos would have been only the second match and wouldn't have been a pinfall only match. The hardcore title would have been Grim versus Mandy, and we would have had Lincoln Nightmare on a regular match on SmackDown. The TLC match was always planned, but again the setup was different. And the tag team title match was always planned, but again different motives and reasons for doing things. Tails versus Metal would have been Manic versus Metal for the Undisputed title, and then Manic probably would have won it. We were leaning, I guess, more towards, although I would have, again, loved Metal, and now I still love Metal. I'm absolutely decided that Metal's my Undisputed champion, for sure. And the unsanctioned match would have been me versus Tails. And there's your Bash the Brands match card for the alternate timeline. So it is what it is, and here we are. So, moving on to the next topic of interest is the impact of premieres. So obviously this is a new thing. This is also one of the things that has been not me to be my motivation to making more shows. Just finding the time and dedicating my life to finding time just to make the shows, because there's one really high, it's some kind of dopamine or some just a really good kick is when I have the finished show completed, and now I'm like, I can't wait for people to be watching this alongside with me, and we can be talking about it like live as it happens seemingly. It makes the show feel a little bit more special with the premieres. You know, ever since after Mascot Mania, I think we've been doing them practically. Because, as I said, that was the newest thing. We didn't even... I would have loved to premiere Mascot Mania and have everyone sit there for 6 hours. Maybe not the best idea. No, maybe not the best idea, but... yeah, so I will try, obviously, not to make shows that long, and if I do, then I will give you a heads up warning of this show is very long. But that's not our plan going into season 2, but we'll talk more about that a little bit later. So, yeah, it was a case of, yeah, the premieres are just really, it makes it feel a little bit more special as if it's happening live, and I'm getting instant feedback, or I'm getting instant, I just love it all. Anyone who shows up to the premiere, I just absolutely love you and the interactions we have, no matter what they are. I'm enjoying myself. I'm constantly just having a laugh behind the screen, just so you know, like everything. When I will type something down, something shocking happened, like, oh, Link did this. That's literally how I'm sounding it in my voice. Oh, shocking. So it's just really, as much as I'm being sarcastic about it, because no one can hear me, I'm typing it out as I'm saying it, going, oh, big shocking moment. Shadow did this. But, also all the victories or whatever as they happen. Oh, the Link beat Nightmare. That's how I'm just doing it in my own little fun way. So the premiere is just for me just typing it out and just talking out loud to myself. It's fun enough. But I always obviously love the people to respond, and I get instant feedback, and then I'll tell you about it, and it's just really fun. It's good stuff. I love the premieres, and so I will continue to do them. We're probably going to premiere the whole tournament for the round robin tournament, but obviously it won't be a massive just chunk of tournament. That we'll be doing it in stages, like we're going to do obviously the entry, so the qualifying matches to get onto the table itself, and then all the matches on the table that can take place, we're going to slowly just do. We'll have like 2 from one table, 2 from another, and then 1 from the women's, because that'll just be even then for how many we've got, and then we'll do it like that. So it won't be a lot of shows, but it'll be enough for the whole tournament before it concludes, and obviously we'll do the semi-finals and the final all in one shot, probably, along with a few other matches. when we come to that stage, but we'll see. Um, so yeah, that'll be premiered, and then obviously everything for season 2 is probably going to be premiered, despite what changes we've got. But we'll talk more about that soon. But yeah, the premieres. Going back to that, they've just really helped with me enjoying the show again, because now I get, it was always nice to read comments. Do not get me wrong about that. When the show was finished, all the comments going off, and it was nice to read them. But it's even nicer to just interact instantly and sort of like set things up. And if anyone has any questions that I can answer, then I can be right there and say, X, Y, and Z, and yes, I can answer that and whatever. So it's really nice. It's just really good to have there as a thing. So I guess YouTube has done a plus for me at some point. So, but yeah, premieres have really, really helped with the continuation of the show. Plus the people that obviously show up on it, and the people that just watch the show, even if you're not on the premieres, that was motivation and drive. But the premieres have really, 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 really helped, along with a few other things, as I said, that aren't me. So, yeah, I just thought I'd put that in as a small thing. It's not a major thing to talk about, but I thought it needs to be addressed because it's been really, really good since we've started doing them, and I've really enjoyed them. I think the best turnout we've had was for the big brand match between Raw and SmackDown on SmackDown. The big sort of elimination match. We had a rather impressive turnout, including by someone that I feel like I've known for years, and yet we've never talked, which was Elabod. Elabod won, even. And I don't know who that is. And you never will. I might show you some of his stuff later, I don't know. So does he do this kind of thing as well? I'm assuming. From that. Yeah, no, he does this as well. And he uses this game we're using, Eggman, is the second game in the series. He uses the one from the first. Oh. So it's very similar to this. Yeah, it's very similar. The visuals are a little bit different, but the gameplay, the action that you see on the screen is a lot similar. But the only reason I don't use that game is because I have tastes. I'm not saying that I have taste. I'm not saying that one's better than the other one, but I have certain ways I want to set things up, and the way the first game plays out is the AI is a lot more like freelance, going in for its own business sort of thing. And yeah, so I prefer this game because the AI will, on some matches, let you control how the match goes rather than controlling it itself. That's all I will say. But yeah, I think he's in a much more controlled environment when he makes the shows. Like he's got people to play the game with him, or he's just controlling everything himself. I don't know, but I don't care. I prefer to make things the way I'm making them, even if sometimes they're really stressful. But I can put up with it. I can put up with it. Well, yeah. Been burping. I've been drinking, so it's got to work its way down somehow. You take it easy there. Have another drink. Yeah, good idea. Mm. Foof. So yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. Good stuff. Good stuff. My next topic, moving on, is the Simpsons gag of when Mr. Burns is trying to make a Hollywood movie, shall we call it, and he's on the back of a horse, and the horse runs off, and then he's being dragged by the horse by his foot along the screen continuously, and then when they're he's sitting there with Smithers going, "We did 20 takes and that was the best one." This is my segment for that. This is called "We did 20 takes and that was the best one," but I'll know more about this than Eggman. But to put it in perspective on what I have to deal with, I hate Tikal versus Rouge on Battle of the Brands. Like, absolutely. Because usually I come up with a set of like requirements that the match has to do. We do bullet points of like, this has to happen in the match. Like, we'll set up spots even. So this spot has to happen, or this certain thing has to happen. So I wanted Rouge to put up a fight. Obviously didn't want her to win, but I wanted Tikal to at least put up with some resistance. Give me some resistance. I was playing as Tikal. Because the whole point was Rouge has to not get me down with her brute strength of her feet. She has to pin me with a roll-up. Which she did. So she has to get, Tikal tight so she can't kick out. Instead of beating her up with her strength or whatever. That's how she's going to overcome the Tikal's resiliency. Which did happen. But I wish it would happen a lot longer than what it actually did. Because that match was surprisingly quick. Because we knew that Mandy was going to outright just be peached flat out. So I was just like, right, Tikal versus Rouge, our other women's match has to be particularly long. It has to be a battle of Rouge trying to overcome Tikal. And eventually she'll work out the roll-up. Because that was how I was going to sell it, is Tikal's, like, in terms of statistics in-game, is very resilient. That's like her highest bar on her stats. So she'll be able to kick out of a lot. So that was my motivation of recording this fucking match. And Rouge was the AI, and then we would have done that. Because the last thing I wanted to do was Tikal being the AI, and then she would have kicked out of the roll-up thing maneuver that Rouge does. So I had to play as Tikal on every single take, and it was Rouge trying to battle me and fight me. But every time it was Rouge was either winning by pinfall, or just the match wasn't quite good. Like, there wasn't any offense being given by Rouge in order to get a victory, or vice versa. Like, Tikal I wasn't able to do a lot with her, but it was like the one that you see on the show was as I said, we did 20 takes and that was the best one. I probably didn't do 20 recordings, but it pretty well felt like that. And that was the best match that I could put on the show, because at least it ended up in a roll-up, and now we got some action in there, but I really just don't fucking like that match. That's not the only example either. The street fight on Raw was driving me around the fucking ass bend to the point where I wish we never set it up at all. Because it was just like, right, this match should be fairly fun, fairly easy, and we just need Scourge and Luigi to win. And we just need to have the weapons flying, and it's a street fight, and we're going to have a lot of fun on the final episode of Raw. Every recording, Bart and Homer would win. Bart and Homer would win all the time. Despite the fact that Homer's actually the weakest of the bunch in that ring in terms of in-game statistics, believe it or not. So it was just like Bart and Homer just continually get a victory. Somehow, some way, some magic. And I finally got a victory, which is the one you see happen on the actual event, on the final Raw. And it was just like, it was Luigi giving Homer the pipe dream. And I'm just like, I've had enough of this match. Although afterwards, even when I was putting the show together, it was just like, I would find time to just have a recording session for that match alone, just to see if I get a better one, and lo and behold, Bart and Homer would fucking win it still. So that's the only match we had where there was a victory. I feel like it was good enough in the end, because I said, we really got to sell that match on commentary because it's shit. And you said, aye, sir. I just basically said our motive for doing commentary was we want to point out everything that's happening that's fun and wacky. So every weapon that's used, we have to point it out that it's fun and wacky. The referee getting knocked down, it's fun and wacky. It's crazy. This street fight is crazy. But in terms, if you actually watch it without a commentary, it's shit. So yeah, this is. Yeah. But that's the best outcome I got for the street fight and for Tikal versus Rouge out of many, 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 many attempts. And I fucking hate both of them. But I think we've beaten the street fight one with our commentary, maybe, probably. I don't know. It's like Tikal versus Rouge is going to suck. I actually enjoyed the street fight one. You are right. We were just trying to be goofing it up because you were being Alex. But we were just trying to goof it up as much as possible because, as you said, the match was a bit crap. I haven't actually watched it without hearing the volume on or anything. Probably might do that just to see your perspective on it and actually give you feedback. Maybe I should have done that. I don't know. But I haven't done that yet, but I probably will. So, yeah. I don't like it, but you'll see. I feel like if you watch that match silent, it's shit. Scourge doesn't do hardly anything. Who are you playing as? I'm playing, ironically, as Scourge because I'm like, right, I need to be the most motivated guy in the ring, and lo and behold, my tag partner Luigi is being shite. And both Homer and Bart are just an incredibly good tag team, just as an AI, apparently. So, look out for good things with those two, maybe in the future, because I feel like pushing them would be an easier thing to do than making them take a lot of losses. Because beating them seems to be really fucking hard. That's why they won at Bash of the Brands. No, that's not the real reason they did. But it was that match was much more easier for Bash of the Brands than it was for the Final Raw. Let me tell you, fucking jeez, it was just horrible. So that's that. What other things have I got written down under this? Oh, no. Fucking, you're gonna laugh. Maybe people have already detected this, but this again pertains to the final episode of Raw. But it's the Grim Link hardcore match. That match is basically the only recording because it was fairly easy to set up for the most part. I think I might have had a couple of recordings actually because one of them didn't go too well. But I am playing as Grim in that match, and we wanted to set out to say, right, this is a hardcore match. Let's not finish it in the ring because this is the final episode of Raw. Let's finish it somewhere interesting. So I'm like, right, somewhere interesting that I can do is just go up to the stage. So let's try and work out the fight so that it ends up there. And luckily, it did go really well. The only problem halfway through though is we fought up the ramp, we came to the commentary table, and then Link reverses me throwing him onto the announce table that's in the pit there next to the stage. And then I'm lying on it, and what Link is doing is not climbing on the table. So you will see just how many cuts I had to make for this. So I cut Link not getting onto the table. He doesn't get onto the table until Grim gets back up. And then I'm like, right, I'm going to do a Link. I'm going to do a move on Link through the table and go, wow. And then, Link is going to prevail anyway because he's going to win. And then we're going to... Yeah, that's the basis. I was going to do the move through the announce table. I did in the end, but I had a trick getting there because Link, for some reason, once he was up on the table and he had knocked me back down, was just waiting. He was literally just the AI was just standing over me. And then when I was on the verge of getting back up as Grim, what did he do that you saw him do several times? Oh, he would kick me. So therefore, I'd stay a little bit more down on the floor. And I'm like, how are we supposed to commentate this, you stupid video game? So it was just like every time I was trying to get up as Grim, it was just like Link would just kick. For some reason, the AI was just. You'll see how many kicks he did because that's how many cuts I did of just him pausing for the longest time, and when I was about to get up, Link would kick me. So I was just like, you know what, that match will do, but I'll just edit the bit on the announce table. And I left that in my notes, so when I was putting the show together, that I knew that's what needed to be done. Because it's very rarely that I have to do that, but I'm just like, the match was good enough and ended up on the stage, and that's all good. So it was just like, and it was crazy enough and hardcore enough and whatever. We got the street fight later. Did I know that it was going to be shit? Because I try and record everything in the order that it's going to be. I may mix it up sometimes if I'm not getting good success with a certain match, then I'll move on to another one. But as I said, this one went fairly well. It was just that was the only issue, and I'm just like, yeah, whatever. So I didn't want to re-record that. I was just hoping the street fight was going to go really well. Time constraints. Wanted to get this out. So I just had to edit the amount of times Link was just standing there over me, because there's no way we were going to call out. What would we say Link is fucking doing? Just standing there looking at me while I'm on the floor of the announce table, just squirming around trying to get back up. When then he would just kick, because it was really hard to counter as well. I was trying to predict when he was going to kick me, because it was getting. I was like, how many times do you want to do this? And I was ready with the counter button, and it was like, well, I was just too late when he was. Because I am pretty good at countering in this game, I will say that. But it was just like Link was doing it so sporadically and not like randomly, and it was just like. And then I finally get up. I finally get up as fucking Grim, and I'm like, right. And Link tries to punch me. I block that, and then I'm like, right. I'm gonna follow that up with a move to go through the table, and then call it a day. And what happens? For some reason, Grim blocks it. But he doesn't follow up with a grapple. He doesn't follow up with a wrestling move. And Link punches me back down again. And now we're back to the process of me being knocked down and being kicked on the announce table by Link, as we're just on there for the longest time. I think in total time we were on the commentary table for about 3 minutes of him just doing that. So to put it in perspective, I don't know how long it actually turned out to be after I'd cut everything. But it was still a decent amount of time. But yeah, again, it was better than just him looking over me for the longest time, of waiting until I was nearly going to get up, and then he would kick me again. That was so annoying. Well, that's the problems I have to put up with recording this sometimes. That's the first sad time that sort of things happen though, but it is what it is. The other problem I had with the final episode of Raw is the Bomberman match with Manic. We were obviously saying, well, Bomberman needs to win this one, so it was just like, right, I'm going to play as Manic. Because obviously I don't want Manic to go for the win as much. I want him to have like respect for Bomberman. That was the whole idea of me playing as him. So, yeah, Manic was obviously going to dish out the hurt and whatever, but I was trying to make the match as interesting as possible with Manic, therefore I could stretch it out for as long as I possibly could as well, and then Bomberman eventually would prevail. But maybe you've noticed that not all things went well. Bomberman won the match, sure. But he did so on a different recording, because you really put a lampshade on this. You highlighted it ridiculously, but it kind of worked with what we were going for. I'm like, right, because I told you about the recording. I'm like, the Bomberman Manic match. Bomberman does not go for a pin after doing his finishing move, which is the last ride powerbomb thing. And you were like writing on that and saying, right, that can be inexperience. I can show you that he's not world championship material if he's not going to follow up with one of his busy with this biggest finishing move that he can pull off. Yeah, and well, you can take over if you want. Yeah, no, the minute you said that, I was just like, right, this is actually better. If Bomberman's not going to actually go for a pin after his finish, and I can capitalize on that doing commentary and go, this isn't good enough for him. He should be following up. He should be having confidence with his finisher, which is what I said. So I thought this is a plus, but obviously I could see your frustration with it. Yeah, because I was just like, yeah, because I'm literally letting Bomberman just pick me apart at that point. Just going, yeah, Bomberman, you did the power bomb, just pin me now, and he did pin me. And as you know, I was trying to kick out as Manic, and I think I did once, maybe question mark. Um, but other than that, he would never go for the pin for some reason. Like the AI sometimes has a habit, depending on what finishing move it is. Although I've never seen Bomberman go for the power bomb and not cover afterwards. So I was just that was just a weird moment. But Bomberman would never go for a pin afterwards. He eventually won the match, but the way he won it was a bit shit because it wasn't with a finish in the end. Ironically enough, but I did a little post production, and you might have noticed it with the edit, but obviously everything near the end was very one sided because that was just me with playing as Bomberman with Manic being a second player with a second controller, and then doing the power bomb and then doing the high flying move off the top. I thought that would be a nice way to end it off. So to put emphasis that Bomberman doesn't have faith in his finish and he's going to do a high flying move instead to finish off the match, just to make it a bit of a spectacle at the end there, but also for storyline purposes. So that was what happened in the end. So I guess it kind of paid off in terms of storyline, but I really was frustrated. It was like, Bomberman, go for the pin. God dang it. He'd done so many finishing moves to me, and the AI was still adamant on like not finishing the match. So I don't know what was going on there, but that's what was going on there. So that was that. Right, what have we got next? Because that was, I think that's everything I got for. Yeah, we did 20 takes and that was the best one. But Takeout versus Roos in the street fight, you can officially say that I don't like. And go back and watch the street fight on silent, and you'll probably maybe see my frustrations. Watch me playing as Scourge as well, because I don't do very much. But luckily, I think we sold it enough with the crazies through our commentary. Luckily, so it's what it is. Yeah. I think we put it off with the commentary, for sure. But I will have to watch that back myself. I will on silent. Good for you. um, so moving on. Yes, changes for season 2. So less behind the scenes of what you've already seen, and more behind the scenes now of what's to be. Not that we're gonna obviously give away spoilers of of magnitude or anything like that. Um, but excuse me. But yeah, so I've got a list of stuff here that we are gonna talk about. I think, well, we are gonna address. I think a lot of people were obviously concerned with the situation with the YouTube title. Don't worry, I will end that confusion now by saying it's still here and it is just vacated for now. And Vacant has the YouTube title. Good for him. um, yeah, so the YouTube title will return in season 2. I just thought I'd get that out of the way now, and then and that's all I have to say about it. But it may be returning to its roots because I don't think it worked out the way we wanted it to eventually. At the start when we started this show, which was fucking donkeys years ago. But my idea for the YouTube title was let someone win it, and then we'll have the fans decide who the next number 1 contender is, and we'll give them a list of people to vote for. It'll be like the most interactive championship, and that'll give it sort of a uniqueness. Because it'll be like literally the people's champion. To coin a phrase. Because it's the YouTube title, and obviously the people on YouTube, that's how they want their title represented. And then if we deem fit that the whoever they've picked to be number 1 contender will win it, then we'll make them win it. And it'll be a very spontaneous title to work with. and keep things nice and fresh and stuff. But that's not the way it eventually just turned out. It just turned out to be the main belt for the B show for SmackDown, which turned out which I think it was actually good. I'm not going to say it was bad that we turned the YouTube title just into the main title to win, but now because of the merge of the brands, obviously it's going to be the inferior title regardless. Of how much elevated it was because it was being represented in the main event of Mascot Mania on YouTube. So, but it's still, I would say, got prestige because we've had a lot of decent people hold it. Yeah, but it is what it is. So that's probably how we'll go forward with the YouTube title, if anything. And if anyone is digging that idea of like, we'll have like an additional match to like crown someone with it, and then we will get people to vote for it. I'll give the people a bunch of names, like 4 max, and then whoever gets the most picks for the next time we have the title defense or whatever, then that will be the match that we have. Sort of the people's choice to fight for the belt. Because you can make a lot of dream matches for people that way, which is what I figured would be a good thing to do. So I'm still keen to do that, though. Any match that you see is like, oh, if this person's the champion, I'd love to see this person face it for them, and then you can vote for them. But again, if they show up for the voting for the names, because obviously it has to be filtered to some degree, it has to be filtered. Excuse me. It has to be filtered to some degree so that we're in a little bit of control, but obviously we won't mind anyone whose names we give out. We will want to see compete for the YouTube title, and obviously we will set up storylines around it or whatever. It won't just be oh, this is a dream match, da 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 da. AEW, woo woo woo. I understand that AEW don't just do the whole dream matches, but I will put. Everyone assumes that I'm just an AEW loyalist and I speak nothing but nice things about them, but I do point out their flaws, and sometimes a dream match is a dream match and doesn't need to. But Forbidden Door for me is just slightly empty sometimes. As a show. So I'm glad this year that they had some just in-house AEW matches that were actually set up instead of just, here's someone from Japan facing the guy from AEW. But yes, sometimes they will just build a rivalry up, which is nice. They did one between, Zack Sabre Jr. and Kenny Omega, which was kind of nice, but it wasn't that great. But I don't want the YouTube title to just turn into the dream matchmaker. I want to have rivalries behind it as well, and hopefully we'll be able to still do that if I go forward with this plan. But do let me know in the comments, guys, if you feel like that would be an interesting plan to go forward with the YouTube title. Because I'm really, really leaning into it now, because I feel like I've got the fan base. That was the other issue at the beginning. We didn't really have the fan base that was going to commit to investing interest of that level to be voting for number 1 contenders. But now I feel like we've got the numbers, so that's always a good thing. Not going to deny that. So let me know, should we have the YouTube title go back to its original intention and have you guys vote for number 1 contenders and possible future champions for that belt, with rivalries thrown in for good measure. So you'll get your money's worth. Not that you're paying for anything, but you'll get your money's worth for voting for a particular character. So let me know what you guys think in the comments for this. Also changes for Season 2 going forward. Obviously, the presentation's going to change, so I can say we're going to have different match cards. So basically, I'm saying, the screens for the matches, obviously, I feel like I made those screens for the matches for Raw and SmackDown quite some time ago. I did improve them slightly as time went on, but obviously they're going to have a complete overhaul and a completely different presentation when it comes to the matchup screens for Raw and SmackDown. So that's going to change. Also, the nameplates are going to change, because I just made the nameplates as like, right, we can do this now with my new computer, which is ironically now my old computer. That's how long things have taken. But now I can do. So I just brushed up something real quick for both Raw and SmackDown, and then got a little bit more creative for everything else. I think everyone liked the Bash of the Brands uh, nameplates. I did. Yeah. The whole bubbles, the red bubbles and then the blue bubbles inside the boxes, the metal boxes or whatever. That's what I was going for anyway, because the whole idea was, the whole theme of Bash the Brands was test experiments. We're going to take this chemical and this chemical from this brand and put them together and see what the reaction is. So that's what I was going for with that. And I will continue to be creative with the nameplates. I could probably even give I can't really give hints on what I'm planning for, because we have nothing set in stone. But I do have some ideas for what, in generally speaking, what the nameplates can look like for the big events going forward for season 2. And obviously Raw and SmackDown is going to get a big overhaul in terms of presentation, and that would include the nameplates. And they can be a lot better looking than that, I'll tell you that. So, what else we got here? The openings obviously are going to change for season 2. I don't know if I'm going to change the signature, like the opening bit that you see on every video, the signature. Yeah, I know what you mean. But yeah, that bit is going to change, but I don't know and sure and what to. I kind of just like that one. That might not change, but obviously the openings for the Raw and SmackDown shows will change. We are planning on adding pyro, like opening pyro, which would be fun. That'll be just going to be quite hard to set up though. But for Raw and SmackDown it should be fairly easy. Only have to do it once, but yeah. You can actually have that though. Yeah, but it's going to be really complicated because I'm going to have to make. What my plan is, I'm just going to make someone called Pyro Guy, and then I'm going to give him different opening pyro, and then record it all in the arena, and then have that, and then just edit it all together as one big pyro show for the opening. So yeah, it'll be custom pyro for the opening, sort of, so to speak, with different camera angles every time. But hey, people have said you should have like a pyro intro. And we did that for Mascot Mania, but I did that from a completely different game, and it won't be anything like that. It'll actually be made in this game. So that's the plan. And that'll also be big events, 4 big events as well. I might make them a little bit more special. We might just do a little one for Raw and SmackDown, and then a bigger one for the big events. But yeah, opening pyro. That's what we're gonna have. We're also gonna have. I put in with a question mark here, backstage events, because the whole idea now is I don't want to have backstage interviews necessarily. I like backstage interviews, sure. We like utilizing Alex in that way, and we will continue to do so. But I also want to try and move for some of the things that we do have planned. If we go forward with them, they will require a bit more than just being in the back, so we say. Yes, if we can do that somehow. You were saying you were going to do it with pictures. Yeah, so instead of actually using in-game stuff, for the most part, we'll be trying to use pictures. But again, it's early days, and I don't really know how I'm going to shape that. But some of the storylines that we have kind of set up for season 2 already will definitely require sort of characters being outside the arena, shall we say, to put up a little bit of excitement. Not this is going to be absolutely amazing. I'll probably be using text boxes if I don't have character voiceovers, which we're going to talk about very soon. It will just be a script on the bottom of the screen, or I might actually use speech marks or speech, bubbles. I thought that would be kind of unique, because I've seen a few places now just use words at the bottom of the screen. And I'm just like, I don't like that presentation. Other people are very welcome. If that they're happy with that presentation to present it like that, that's fine. Because whatever. But I personally want to like soup it up just a little bit. Maybe have speech bubbles come out of characters in these backstage events. Shall we call them? Yeah. So look out for that, because we can do a few interesting things here. Obviously, it won't be heavily action orientated, but it'll be very. Um, it'll be very story driven, and I can do more character and storyline plots with that, and more interesting things to see characters in different locations other than backstage or wherever, doing an in-ring promo or an on-stage promo. It's just we can make them go somewhere else and do things. But that'll again all be through pictures with the characters. So I'm gonna have to work out a way to do that. But I really want to do it, so I'll probably be working out a way tenfold rather than just treating it like maybe we won't do this because I'm really pushing for it for some of the stuff that we got set up. Like it will require that for sure. So yeah, I look forward to that. I think that's all the things I can say that's going to be different. One of the things that I was considering, without your permission, as always, I'm always not consulted on everything. But I guess it's your show and you're making it at the end of the day, so it's all fall down. I never want to throw in anything that would be otherwise like add to your work load, shall we say, of making the show, because I don't do any of that, so I don't know what it's like. But obviously, it's taken a toll and it's taken time to do so. So I try not to add anything in that I know will take up additional time. But if you're all game for doing it, then go for it. But what's your idea? What's the thing you haven't told me? So I was also thinking of like before every match we do like a tail of the tape, or so we can compare the characters that are about to have the match, or then my other idea that if that seems a bit too tricky to be spontaneous with was during their entrance. Not only would we have the nameplate show up, but we might have like a sidebar come out showing like their credentials, like past titles won, or a bit like I'm gonna say an AEW approach, like with the bar they usually with the name plate. They usually have like a thing that they've been recently doing, like this person won last week on Dynamite against blah blah blah, or whatever. So we might do something like that, but it'll be like a sidebar coming in with like statistics and all of that stuff. I may do that, or we might do Tale of the Tape. It's going to be one of the two because I want to kind of do that to add to the different presentation of the show. So look out for that. Basically, do you like the sound of that? Yeah, I don't know which one necessarily. I like the idea of having like an updated like statistics plate though, as like saying, as you said with AEW, it's like saying what that person's recently been doing, or just a crazy statistic down there or something, so we can help maybe sell a storyline. Yeah, that's one of the other things I guess I was thinking of in the back of my head, but it didn't really come out until you said it. But yeah, it would help with storylines. Like we could put a statistic in there, like so and so doesn't like this person, or whatever. We can have some fun with it. We might put something funny in there if it's a comedy character, or whatever. We can have some fun with it if I do something like that. But we'll see. I want to do one of the two though, of those ideas, either the tail of the tape or a sidebar full of knowledge. But I don't know what's going to be more complicated. Probably the sidebar. Because I would have to keep changing it and updating that. Whereas with the tail of the tape, I probably just pre-do like statistics, and then whenever we have two characters, I just have those two up on the screen, and I don't have to keep making them over and over again. Unless they need updating or whatever for statistics and title wins and whatever. So I don't know. We'll see how we go with that. Our next topic, because I think that's all I can say for changes for season 2. I have not officially started recording for it at all. Obviously, we're gonna get the round robin tournament done, and that's probably the recording. I'm at the moment arranging to be starting around the 5th of August, because that's when I'm gonna be completely scot free of like any other woes and troubles. So I'm not sure what date that falls on. Is that a Wednesday? I'm not sure, but yeah, around about the 5th, I'm gonna start recording stuff for that. Because of course the other problem with that is we want to debut some more characters. Seeing as we've lost Connor and Aki, we have 2 slots there. We may as well talk about that now. Actually, I'm gonna jump forward into once I won't say debut clues, but I've written down here under that who have actually removed completely. Because we've obviously lost Aki and Connor. They're not taking up slots anymore. So I have 2 there. But I've also had a few other slots. I had Kanina take up a slot. I've got her. So I've deleted her. So that's 3 slots. I'm actually going to remove Alex as a character, because I think the whole reason, like I said, we had her. This is Alex without a microphone. So the way I set things up is I have a character holding a microphone if they do voice, and then I have a character not holding the microphone, for action purposes. So the model the model I have for Alex not holding a microphone, I have actually deleted, because I don't plan for her to get involved in a storyline ever again, because the whole intention was so that in case she's there, so that we can do an angle, and we knew Shadow was going to be doing something with Aki, and to set that all up. So that was there, but now I don't feel I need Alex I need Alex just holding a microphone. So I've deleted her other model, because it's really hard to set up that microphone, and I've got to change like the stance for them to hold the microphone up to their face. And it's just it's a time waster of going into the editor and then giving the character the microphone in their hand, and then making them change the pose so that they're holding it in a convincing way to make it look like they're holding a microphone, and then having to change it and revert it all back. I figured this out ages ago, that I have a separate memory cards with characters with holding microphones. So when I need a promo done, I just right, load that memory card up, slam that character in, and there you go, they're holding a microphone, and I can record it. So that's what I've got. So I've deleted the Alex model, to be specific, not holding a microphone, but I've still got the one of her holding a microphone. So all is not lost on that front. If I need her again, then I'll just make her again without the microphone or whatever. But again, it's tedious if the plan is to not have Alex in sort of any more action-based things. So there you go, that's that. So that's another slot. So that's 4 slots. I've also deleted Eggman in a suit, because I don't think after this, going forward, obviously there's not going to be, I can say that for season 2, is we're doing away with the GMs. There aren't going to be any GMs. The buck stops here with Mr. AK High. So there will be backstage moments for sure, I can say, on that front, with me in my office, so to speak, and setting up matches Mick Foley style, I guess we'll say. Not with a gavel or anything, but but like, my decision is final. And this match will be taking place right tonight. Right. Nice Vince. Thanks. But yeah, so Eggman in a suit has also been deleted, because that was a separate one. And also me in wrestling gear, because I don't plan on actually doing any matches. The original intent was I wasn't going to do any matches, but I'm definitely not going to do any matches in season 2. I'm just going to be the guy in charge, and that's that, because I feel like that's the better thing to do, rather than putting the spotlight on me, so to speak. So I can just be the guy in charge. So when I come out to the ring, something's up and business is gonna go down, or whatever. But me in wrestling gear has been deleted, because I had that and me in a suit as a separate slot. So that leaves us with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 slots. But you may have noticed I will have also a 7th slot. 1 second. That was me having a drink. Yeah, my voice is dying. I've been talking for 2 hours now, non-stop practically, because you haven't chipped in. You said you wanted to do most of it, so here I am. Fair enough. No. No, because most of the stuff that we said here is going to be, I'm going to know more about this than you are, so. But that's why we all stick around to the end for a bit of fun. And also there's questions on Discord for you to answer too. So, yeah. But yeah, I've deleted also, someone actually did ask, I've forgotten how they asked it or whatever, but they asked about Cyrus. So this was, yeah, this was our cunning little scheme that seems to have failed, because we were like, right, after Mascot Mania and I've turned heel, there's obviously no need for a Cyrus to be around, because I will be in charge of SmackDown. That's how we work things out. So I'm just like, right, I can delete Cyrus right now. So if you're wondering why we haven't seen a Cyrus between Mascot Mania and now, that's the reason. So we've tried to subtly like kick him to the curb, so to speak, because he wasn't really needed in part of the storyline, because it was going to be me in charge of SmackDown